Now, today's guest needs no introduction. He's no pressure to performance or winning. When it comes to, I suppose, living every rugby fan's dream, my latest guest has done exactly that. Now, Anthony's played 23 tests for the Wallabies. He's competed on the world stage at the World Rugby Cup, and he's won a Super Rugby Championship. But what sets Anthony apart is what he's been able to do after the final whistle. And that transition from professional athlete to now building one of Australia's truly good businesses is exactly what we're going to talk about today. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Obviously, really appreciate your time and obviously having the chat today. So that's a pretty good intro. So yeah, I'll stick with that. That's the best, I think, over 30 years, that's the biggest compliment I've ever heard you say about me. So I'll take that as a win, Dylan.
Well, I'm really pleased with that one, mate, because that's the first intro that we've officially ever had to do. So
take it.
Welcome to the show. Now, I suppose for those who haven't followed or have lived under a rock, who is Anthony Faingaa in just simple terms?
I suppose I grew up in Queanbeyan and very, very lucky to have played rugby. I went to St. Edmund's College. We have a family of four and a family of five, but there's four other brothers. We went to St. Edmund's College. During that time, though, we lived in a pub, which was quite tough, and we saw a lot of stuff that for us was character building around, stuff where we had to make a choice whether you wanted to clean the pub on the Saturday morning, Sunday morning, or go and play representative football, and that was the choice. So our father said to us, "Listen, Sarah and Ant, if you guys want to play good rugby on the weekend, you don't need to come and clean the pub." And where we live, where my bedroom was right next to the nightclub. So even still, so it was hard to get to sleep. And then when we would wake up, we would have to go and clean the nightclub before we'd go to rugby. And cleaning the pub, picking up the cigarette butts because the vacuum cleaner wasn't good enough. At that time, you smelt like smoke going to the football. There was crap everywhere. And, for us, that really built some really strong character. However, at the same time, there was a lot of fight. It was quite dangerous back then, living in the pub. However, not once did I ever feel it was unsafe. Not once did I go, geez, this is hard. I actually think we had the best upbringing. And my mum and dad gave us everything that we needed. So for me, I feel very blessed because that's what shaped us today. And then, we went to St. Edmund's College where we built a really good foundations for, rugby. And I was very lucky to play first 15 as a 14-year-old. So to do that was massive. Everyone, I talk about it now, just thinking of 14-year-olds playing first 15, and you go, geez, that's a bit scary. For me, I didn't think twice. I was like, yes, happy days. I don't need to clean the pub. So very sort of happy around it. And then I suppose from after that, we went on to play for the Brumbies, and I had lots of injuries and lots of setbacks, which really, they were difficult. And I suppose for me, having the support, which goes into the business that we have at the moment, having the support, having resilience really kept me in good stead through my rugby career and now into business. Some of the impacts that happened during those first 3 years out of school, and some of the challenges where, not being picked, but also, having compartment syndrome, told I'll never play rugby again, come back from that, have a really good preseason, then break all my metatarsals in my foot, come back from that, do my ACL medial and meniscus, and then get told from Brumbies that, we really love you, brother, but quite frankly, we will keep you because we want him. And for me, I was like, I had some really good chances to go to rugby league and some opportunities to sort of go to rugby union or just stay in rugby union. And I was very lucky. I got World Player of the Year at the Under-19s World Cup, and that coach then became the Queensland Reds coach. So, that's to fast forward. I then went to sign with the Reds and very lucky to sort of make my way up to Queensland. and then that's where it all started for us. So from there, we really built, it was tough when we first arrived here. All the players were exiting and going to the Western Force or Melbourne Rebels. So, they were sort of taking all the rejects or guys that were past their time or needed that second opportunity. And that was me. And I absolutely go, yes, I did need that second chance or the opportunity to shine. So Phil then moved on and Ewan Mackenzie came in. Throughout my whole rugby career, I've had some really great coaches, and I've had some not so great coaches, but throughout the whole time, I've had so much learnings through that, where I've taken the good and the bad, and things where certainty was created, and how that impacted me, how that made me feel, being under pressure. Knowing that everything's on the line, what's going to happen the next contract. So all of those scenarios and all of that has really set me up for business. And that transition, though, was really, really hard. And going, is it time now, or do I take the contract to go overseas and keep playing? And, for me, rugby was something that I was always going to be. Everyone goes, well, what was going to happen if it didn't work? I go, I didn't have a choice. It was, rugby was going to be the only thing that I was going to do. Right? That's all I knew. So, for me, I was very lucky that it worked out. And off the back of that, the consistency, the hard work, you end up playing. We played consistently for the Reds, consistently, for a couple of years with the Wallabies. Really, really up and down seasons and wins and losses and all the rest of it. But overall, very lucky to play all of my rugby career with my twin brother, Sayer. So, family is a big thing. And then obviously, sport and now business. So that's a small, I know you wanted me to wrap it quickly, but, for me, the journey is what plays a huge role in my life now, because the way I run the business and the way I look at it is not too similar how I look at sport or when I was a part of a team, because that's what I know. Mm-hmm. When I think about it, all I thought about, every morning, every night was, how can I become the best rugby player ever? And consistently working hard and consistently getting up and wanting more, having that drive. When pressure's on, how do I rise? Running out in front of 60,000 people, all of those little scenarios, all those scenarios now I put into a business space. Not everyone can be new business, so not everyone can score tries. You need the grinders, and they were the forwards, and that's me in the business right now. And so I try to look at it with a different frame. So for me. I approach the business and I approach my, the way I speak and my leadership very differently to others. But again, fortunate to have the past to be able to stand on.
Yeah, so I think that's where I probably need to jump in. Like the origin and who you are is so important to the amazing business that you guys have today. Now you're employing hundreds of people across the country. It's a very diverse workforce. So I think it's probably a good idea to just quickly cover off Moonyah Workforce. Moonyah, tell us what is it in just a simple format? Okay,
so very simply, Moonyah Workforce is a traffic management and labour hire company, and really across all building construction, civil, a lot of your tier one contracts that are out. We also have Mudgee, which is a commercial furniture company, which provided these chairs here. But all of our businesses started on the back of giving people an opportunity to work.
Yeah,
and that's sort of the core catalyst of how we started, and then off the back of that, we've just built this business.
Yeah, and I think that word catalyst, like when you come to mind, and I can say this, we've known each other, but I was fortunate to grow up years behind you, but the impact that you left on, say, St. Edmunds College, I would say it goes back 20, 25 years. So it shows our age a little bit. But the impact, it was always, there was like a certain modesty. I suppose there was a discipline, which was one of the core things that comes to mind when I think of you. And then there was grit. And I think that somewhat could be now, worded in maybe your way of leadership, or just a relentless perseverance to just pushing it along. So when it come to building Moonyah and I suppose that transition from professional to now professional business, those characteristics, are they the same?
Again, looking at it from a different frame, I can't look at this around the money. I look at, hard work. So the goal was to play for the Wallabies. If I play for the Wallabies, money will come. The goal is for my business is to, get to 300 people. It was to get to 100 people, and then it was to get to 100 people and maybe 50 youths out. And if I do that, then the money will come. So it was to have, these goals that were not money driven. However, I needed to understand. So like playing for the Wallabies, the times that everyone's going home, I'm in there first, I'm there last. I learn the industry. I make sure I understand my role in the business. I make sure that I'm really, really clear on the strategy. I make sure that the mission is really clear to everyone, because if we don't have a mission or we don't have the goal, then where are we going to? Where is this new business going to? So having a clear direction has been crucial, and finding that early. And again, we hit the 100 sort of out working every day, in the first year and a half. So, we then had to go, geez, what do we do now? What's the next sort of pillar? So, we have that. And then what supports those goals are consistency. And then having the game plan, or, the game plan that suits the work or the team that you have. Because I look at it that, I've had some fantastic game plans, but if I've got the wrong team, I've got a really big sort of forward pack and really big, back line, I can't play a fast game. I've got to play a game that complements them. And I suppose when I hire anyone, it's about understanding their capability and what they can do, so that I can create a game plan, or I can create a strategy that helps us deliver an outcome. Or when I say outcome, or, help us provide or get to our goal. So really, really clear, making sure we have the mission or the clear strategy, understanding our team that we have, and then having clarity, myself on where I sit and what I'm going to be doing. And then underpinning all that is hard work. Mm-hmm. And not just talking it, not just, me buying into it, but consistently getting up and doing the hard work, whether that be upskilling in a particular area, whether that be knowing the market, whether that be understanding my team, whether that be whatever it is, but really making sure that, I do the work so that, when people come to me, I'm able to lead from the front. And you stay disciplined to that. I'm very routined in the way I approach business, the way I approach my life. And for me, that's really sort of upheld throughout my whole life. So I try to keep the same trends. I know when I first started getting into business, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning would be an absolute dream. Like, when I was playing rugby, to get up at 7 o'clock, I'm going, geez, I'm not coming to training. This is too early. But now, I'm up and gone by 4:30, and I'm in the gym, and then I get to work and showered and in my office by 6, and ready to conquer the day. So, changing that mindset and making sure that it's relevant to what I do every day.
Yeah, and I suppose that's a really good way to transition to from the professional athlete into that business mindset. So I don't know if I touched on this, but you've actually got an MBA. So you were thinking as a professional athlete, game plan, what's coming next. When did you start to sort of set your eyes on next?
Well, I think my very first contract, Sarah and I got, we were still living at home in Queanbeyan, and Mum and Dad guarantored their property for us to go and buy, a block of units down the road. And we still lived like we were 16, 15-year-old boys, because all of our money that we got went to the mortgage to pay for the block of units. And in Canberra, most people are public servants or builders. So a lot of our mates would, come and help on the weekend. So the block of 4 units that we got, we did them up. And, another mate was an architect, another mate was a builder. So we all got them, every weekend we would get them to help, and we would take them out for drinks afterwards as a payment. But, my father said, rugby will end. You need to have a backup. And, what was that going to be? So, studying wasn't something that I saw was, important. When I left school, I struggled through school. And then I go and do my MBA, and I loved it. Again, everything I did in every subject, whether it be even economics, I did my economics assessment on high and low tackles, dominant tackles, and so I made it all relevant to things that I was doing or related to my business. So leadership I did on Moonyah Workforce. So for me, taking that approach into study helped me transition quicker, but also it really built strong foundations, because I'm sort of very positive around life in general, and I don't know what I don't know. So I'm always happy to listen to anyone's idea, and how can we approach it? What's the outcome? Why are we doing it that way? And I think having that open sort of mindset has helped me build on where we are at the moment with this business, and taking chances on people. I think when the coaches got the best out of me, it was really built around giving me certainty. I remember Ewan Mackenzie, and I try to give this in my business. I try to give certainty where I can. And I remember the time he called me into his office and he said, "Anthony, what are you going to be the best at?" And this was at the start of the preseason. I said, "Ewan, I think I'm gonna run hard, and I'm gonna tackle hard, and I'm gonna be aggressive for you." Okay. Comes to the end of the preseason, he said, "I'm going to start you for the first 5 games. I need you to just go out and play your very best, but don't be hesitant to throw the pass or to rush out of line. Play the game that I've seen you work really, really hard over this preseason for." So in my head, I straight away had real confidence that, oh geez, should I pass that ball in the first game? I straight away went, boom, I passed the ball, and I had a lot more confidence, because I wasn't going, geez, am I going to get dropped if I pass that ball, or, nervous about getting dropped before I'd even played the game. So in the business, what I try to do is give certainty where I can, and that allows anyone, and so certainty is sort of a bit of a belief as well. If I believe in you, you go, geez, I can do this. And we flip it on, especially in the industry we're in with labour hire and traffic. It's low barrier to entry, so people need to be believed in. And my thing is, well, it's up to you to lose. Oh, what do you mean? I go, well, you go to work, you do the work. Well, it's up to you to lose. And straight away, I see them go, oh, wow. And we do a lot of stuff outside of sort of just the traffic and the labour, the upskilling of our staff, the upskilling, around doing some cert 3s or whatever that might be, because my sort of method around this was, if I can help them be better and help them train or understand more and help them upskill, they might go, well, I can be more, but it gives them more options as the person. But I go, they straight away go, he's invested time and money in me. I'm not going to go to the other company for an extra $1. I'm going to stay with Moonyah Workforce because they care about us. And again, this might only work for 80%, but for me, I go, I would do it if it means I just keep one person because they care about me, they're invested in me. And especially in a workforce that is so transient and, in that labour hire space and the traffic industry, I need to make sure that I give them something more than just a paycheck, because having just a paycheck isn't enough for me, because I need to give them more so they feel invested. And I know for me, I saw my father and mother really struggle to get, especially my father, came from Tonga, really hard. His English wasn't the greatest. However, he worked as a butcher, 5-6 days a week, 6 to 6, and then would go and work security guard at night. Hardest worker, but wasn't given as many opportunities as I think he probably could have had. And I go in my business, we need to change a bit of that. So, we've got more Aboriginal, Indigenous, we've got more Polynesians than any other traffic control company.
Yeah.
So, giving them the opportunity to be able to be more in any role is something that I really feel gets the most out of our workforce.
I completely agree. And we see, I suppose, the underlying principles that the founder has a lot of the time creates the competitiveness for his company. So much of what you're saying right now, you're jumping through my show notes like I actually will send you these after the show so you can see you're just knocking over my next talking points. But I suppose the impact that you're making on the diverse communities, it's not just the Indigenous communities, it's all communities, shapes and sizes. And that comes from, again, back to the founder and the principles that they have around giving everyone equal opportunity, or just giving them a crack, essentially. So I absolutely love that. And I can see how that's paying dividends for you now, because like you're saying, you have a very diverse workforce. You have guys that'll show up for you, guys that won't show up for your competitor. And obviously that's allowing you to continue to grow. And
absolutely. And I think it's for us, making sure that, again, you give them something more, and we're not giving them, solving world peace or anything like that. Some of the 101 stuff where it might be, instead of, I've saved 20 grand, I'm going to go and buy a car for $20,000. It might be just, hold up, why don't you buy a car for 18,000, because you're going to need to put some fuel in the car, you might need to service it, and you're going to have to get some retro. Things that people that have historically been in, on the dole haven't had to think about things like this. So, I know when I got my first rugby contract, we didn't want to rent. We wanted to pay our mortgage off, and if we couldn't see our money, we couldn't spend it. But we initially, and rugby do it really well, they invested in a financial planner. So we sat down with one of them, and they set up the family trust and everything. And I had no idea what was going on, but that now has that 101 stuff that they taught me back then when I was an 18-year-old kid has really held strong throughout my whole life and up to now. So, those little things I feel are huge impacts to people's lives that, take a small bit of time that don't cost money, but it costs time, which is valuable as well. But, again, it's an investment. And for me, that's a huge part of what we do as a business.
Yeah, I hear. Now, it hasn't all been like smooth sailing, so business is hard, very hard. I've got to ask you, because it's rare that we get this chance, playing rugby at the world level, I'd imagine, is incredibly hard. Mm-hmm. What's harder, business or rugby?
I don't know. Like, again, when I was playing rugby, you're in a bubble. All you think about is trying to survive. For me, it was so, I had so many injuries. And I looked at it this way. When you watch a rugby game on the weekend, it doesn't matter. If you're watching the Queensland Reds in 2011, where we won the premiership, it doesn't matter that I was getting injections in my shoulder. My fingers were all broken. you see me on the field, you're going, he's 100%. So it doesn't matter. You know, if I'm carrying an injury, you're going, oh, just poor Anthony, he's got a sore toe and, you know, he's broke his finger, he's got his AC hanging out. You know, you're out on the field and you're 100%. Where business, because I'm still new to it, I think is hard as well. You know, throughout, you know, I think our rugby career, it was always what I was going to be. Business, now that I've transitioned, is something where I never thought I'd own a business. You know, growing up, I wasn't, okay, geez, what am I going to, yeah, everyone's always asking you, what do you want to be? I was going to be a footy player. So, and it really changed the whole dynamic on anyone in our family in terms of, you know, running or owning a business. So when I go, geez, I'm going to actually start a business. And I just went, how am I going to do this? And then throughout, I go, what has held strong and been really consistent in my life? Hard work. Okay. So, you know, and through that, I go, I can do anything. And I'm sort of pretty bold. I think I can do most things with hard work and consistency. It's very, very different sport and business because, you know, sport, you have to get a bit of talent and you have to do those no talent areas and you have to be the best at those, and that's something I wanted to be really good at. And you've got to have someone that believes in you. So I go, business is the same. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going around in circles here, but, you know, for me, the two different stages of my life. If I was trying to do this while I was playing rugby, it would be possible. I think I transitioned the right time. I think what I do now is something that I've always wanted to do. And it was part of, I really, now getting to the back end of my career, going, geez, what am I going to do? I'm so happy where I am now. However, you always want more. And it's not about more money. It's about more, what can I create? What can I develop? How can I pressure myself to get the best out of myself? And what can I do now? Because, you know, throughout my rugby career, I didn't have kids. Mm-hmm. So now, you know, I transitioned out of rugby into business, and I've got 2 daughters. And I go, well, that's my why now. So it's not to try and pay off mum and dad's house anymore or try and build whatever. It's about trying to give them a role model, someone that they go, geez, my father has really done well for our family, and that's my why. So I get up, my purpose is, you know, to build a strong company, but my why is, you know, I want to be a role model for my girls. I want them to be proud of their father, not for the rugby player, but not for the businessman, but being a great father, someone that came from very humble beginnings, knows what it's like to have not a whole lot, but happy to sort of grind it, and for them to see the hard work pays off as well. Because, you know, no one talks about the early morning starts, no one talks about the late nights, no one talks about the things you have to miss to run a business. No one talks about that. And that's something that, you know, I found, you know, everyone's, you know, work from home, do this. I would love to do all of that. But I can't. I need to be front and center. To be the leader I want to be, I need to lead from the front. So, you know, it has been challenging, but at the same time being so rewarding in so many ways.
But where we were at, I suppose, was talking about times where it all nearly fell apart. So not so much on the rugby front, because there's a million different situations I'm sure you're in there. In business, so you've done the transition, you've gone from professional rugby into running literally the livelihood of hundreds of people, and it's hard. When has it almost just not worked?
I suppose for me, when I've let personal stuff impact me and taken me away from the business, I've felt it has really hurt our business. So I've had to sort the personal stuff out first to be able to run this business the way it should. And, there's some of the best, athletes, people, business people that are able to compartmentalize these scenarios. I'm not good enough. So, but again, that was huge learning for me because, I let what happened in my personal life, take away from what I was doing in a business. And I look at what I had achieved in the first, 3 years, where we went from, a really small business to, a medium-sized business. I step away for personal reasons, and the business doesn't grow anymore. We start protecting what we have rather than out going, we're happy with what we have, but we want more. And having that killer instinct to always want more, not because of the money, but not because of anything else, but to get to the goal of creating opportunities and getting back to the mission of what we're trying to do. And that's to create opportunities for anyone that is looking to work, that needs that second chance, to give them the opportunity to work. So, for me, having no sort of baggage going home, and that personal, taking that personal, personal stuff out of it, I now go, I'm ready to go. And it's, for me now, I go, I'm ready to go in terms of, body, mind. And so, that's probably a huge part of, when I look at what could I have done better, what's been something that I've thought could have brought the business down. It was me. So whilst I know I've got a good team, they still need to be led, and that's what good leaders do. And I had to step away, and for that reason, I think that's where I've put us in a really tough position as a business.
And that's, again, straight to my next question. The best leader that you've ever experienced and why, on or off the field?
I think Ewan McKenzie was a really good leader. He wasn't much of a talker. He really demonstrated what a good team looks like. He went and got a really good assistant coach. He went and got a really good attack and defense coach, gave them, autonomy to sort of grow, gave them ownership, didn't micromanage them. And through that, we flourished as a team. We became a really good defensive team and a really good attacking team. Ewan then would look at some of the set piece stuff. He would also look at, the mindset. He would be more around the, we spoke earlier about the creating certainty. He would come in and give these speeches. By the time you get to game day, the game plan should be implemented. You already know what you should be doing. So, I remember the grand final. He walks into the change rooms and he said to us, guys, the Crusaders are tipped to win this, and he talked to that they're paying 10-1 to beat us, and so we're going to go out there and prove the bookies that we're the best. And then he said, today, fellas, we're burning the ships. We're winning. We're there and we're burning the ships. And I remember Bo Robinson from the side of the scrum just going, "We burned the ships," and just let's go. And it had nothing to do with the game plan, but the morale and the emotion and all of that made the game plan. Because the game plan is your process, your systems. So you do that when you're winning, when you have enthusiasm, and and that's where you stay consistent. But you need something else. What gives you the drive? So he was really good at getting the best out of each individual. What he was also really good at is getting, let's say there's three different hookers, to say as an example, or let's say there's 4 hookers. He would give, the 4th string hooker would feel like he was his number 1 hooker, and the ability to be able to make someone feel that is the 4th string, 2nd string, 3rd string, like your number 1 hooker. for me is just phenomenal. Like, so in my business, I try to make sure that, someone that, is perceived to be, the junior or the second string feels like they're the number one. Every person that goes out feels like they're a part of this team, part of this business. Everyone that goes out feels I'm contributing to giving other people an opportunity. I stand for a business. I really, I'm really representing. I stand out there and I represent them. And for us as a business, we make sure people have new shirts. We want them to go out and look good and feel good. Our cars are all new. So we want them to carry themselves with some pride. And that was something that we wanted to make sure that we gave our workers so they feel a part of the team. And I may not speak to the whole 300 or plus workers that we have. However, I have a team that makes, that have are saying the same thing as me. And I think that is really making sure that, I give them ownership of what they're doing, make sure, that I sort of don't micromanage them as well, but also, making sure that they have the same ethics and ethos and are heading in the same direction allows everyone below them go on the right, on the journey to where we're going.
Yeah. And that journey. So what's next for Moonyah? What are you building? Anything exciting that's coming up? What's got you fired up at the moment?
There's lots of opportunities out there. What I'm seeing in the market, we would like to grow into, around Australia. That will obviously have to come in time. There's been a real push for a race to the bottom in pricing. So we need to be really careful around that because we can't race to the bottom. We do a lot more than a lot of the other businesses don't do. So what we need to make sure is that we still stand out as a business. People come to us when they want change in their workforce. You want service and you want delivery, you come to us. Because, I look at, service, delivery and price. We need to be, 2 out of the 3. So we're going to be the service and the delivery and the, capabilities of delivering good people out there. So I need to make sure that we uphold and we keep pushing ahead in that sort of space because we're not going to be the cheapest, but we need to make sure that that service and delivery and what our guys are doing and girls are doing on site is way above everyone else.
Mate, I think it's so easy to see how you've done so well in that transition. And as I said at the start of the show, just class. It's a pleasure having known you, and I'm really interested to see what you continue to do from here. For those following along, where can they find you?
Moonyah Workforce.
Moonyah Workforce.
Mudgee, which is the furniture business that we have.
LinkedIn.
Where else? Facebook, all your social media pages. We're across, but there's no real selling for us. If you want, to give someone an opportunity, you look at our business to help. You need traffic from start to finish, plans done, all the way through to permits to the traffic controllers out there. That's what we do. Your builders that are looking for sparkies or just general labour, that's who we find and that's who we place out there. So creating those opportunities, that's what we do. But if you need furniture like this or bespoke Indigenous ones or desk chairs, anything like that, go to Mudgee as well. So that's where you can find us.
Appreciate it, mate. Thank you. So